What made me? What gave me the strength to recover from a catastrophic parachute fail?
Who helped me to remember to enjoy myself?
What helped me become the first Black Briton to walk to the magnetic North Pole?
What made me a double Olympic champion, winning Britain's first ever Olympic gold in women's rowing?
Gave me the skills to spend 2.5 years walking the length of the Amazon after being told it was impossible.
When I've swum alongside great white sharks and crocodiles, or held the world's most venomous creatures in the palm of my hand.
Who gave me the courage to stay calm in life or death scenarios?
What helped me cope with the pressure, with the expectation?
Who picked me up in my darkest moments when I fell out of love with my sport?
And who was there for me when I struggled with my own mental health?
Who helped me believe in myself?
Convinced me not to quit, but to get back up again.
To face those who said, this ain't for you, but do it anyway.
And what motivated me to give back?
To find a purpose and to speak up for young people.
When I was knee-high, my dad put me on a path that would change the course of my life. He took me to a place where I learned the skills that I use on every expedition.
From the depths of the jungle to the soaring peaks of the Himalaya.
From a body brace to the summit of Everest.
From the streets of Hackney to the ends of the earth.
What made me?
What made me?
What made me?
Scouts. Scouts made me.
Good evening and welcome to the Solihull Scout County AGM on the 24th of September 2020. My name's Simon Haig, I'm the existing county chair. I believe we've got about 20 people live at the moment on the system, so welcome to you all. A few points of order for you today. If you look on your screen on the right-hand side, you'll see that there is a chat box. If you want to ask questions throughout the AGM, please do put it in there, and anything that's AGM related will be picked up and we'll try and tackle that at any other business before we close the meeting today. As I say, welcome. This is the first time Solihull Scout County AGM has been running using technology like this, and let's keep all fingers crossed that we work completely smoothly and that the tech system works the way it should do. You will notice also in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen that there is a link to an annual report. And in that, you can follow both the agenda, the minutes from the last meeting, and various other reports from the other ACCs, which is certainly worthwhile a read, because individually we will not be presenting those back today. We're going to move on to point 2 of the agenda straight away, apologies for absence. And again, if you want to type in the chat, anybody who isn't going to be able to make the meeting and has given you their apologies to pass on, please do put them in the chat and we'll record them. So I'm aware that Sue Cheshire, John Cheshire and John Booth Thomas cannot make the meeting today. And again, if you want to type anything else into the chat, that'd be good. If you see my eyes disappearing to the right-hand side or left-hand side, depending on how it works, that's because I'm running on 2 screens and I'm just keeping an eye on what questions are coming in. So this is a slightly different AGM, being completely virtual, and quite a few of the voting processes have already happened. So I can take you through over the course of the next few minutes what's actually happened with the voting. We have had, if we move on to point 3, which is about minutes of the 2019 AGM, we've had 17 people vote on that, accepting them with 1 abstention. So we're taking that as representative of the last AGM. Now move on to point 4, which is presentation of annual reports. This is myself to go first, followed by Shirley, and we'll then move into Chris Davis, who's going to be delivering the 2019-2020 report. You'll find my written report on page 6, and these are a few extra bits of information for you, which I think will be useful, and some things which I really want to highlight. I've attended both the district AGMs, and thank you both districts for giving technology a go. In both of the district AGMs, a comment was made to the many lost members of Scouting that we've lost over the last 12 months. It has been a very sad time, and we will reflect them properly, and we'll reflect on the memories of the scouting experiences that they've given us when we can meet face to face. But in the interim, could we just pause for a minute and just remember these people in our thoughts? Okay, thank you. Although this AGM is specifically to the end of March 2019, we cannot and we should not ignore the effects that COVID has had on all of us and how scouting is delivered. Who would have thought that at the end of the last AGM, the next AGM would be conducted over the internet in this way? It's far from ideal, as I far prefer standing in front of you and delivering this face to face, but we are where we are. We've got new process that we've tried. The online voting process seemed to work, with any glitches quickly ironed out, and I thank Matt Spencer for helping in that process. As a matter of process, nominations for the positions of the executive committees opened on the 3rd of September with a deadline of the 11th September, and voting on these nominations then occurred between the 14th of September and the 21st of September by members of the Solihull Scout Council, whose membership is defined within POR. Thank you to those members of the council that have voted. I also want to highlight the work that the property team has been doing to keep our county headquarters in good repair. Alan Eccles has done a fantastic job with his crew of people, making sure that the HQ is safe and is in good state of repair. And in February, there was a property management proposal put forward that was signed off by the executive, which gives people an understanding about who's got what responsibility for doing what when. Also, as COVID hit, they did a significant amount of work to make sure that the property was secure, and that when we go back to face-to-face scouting, and also for our lets, that the building is safeguarded from COVID as much as we can do. So, Property Committee, this is for you, and thank you for all the work that you've done in this space. The other thing which is quite significant, the county website has also been used significantly over the last 12 months, specifically looking at nights away notification process, and this has worked really well. Using some of that technology, the COVID RA process has been working. And again, I'd like to thank Matt Spencer for all of the work that he's done behind the scenes for that, and also for this stream that he's doing today to make this happen. So thank you, Matt. We also have had a couple of people stand down from the executive committee over the last at the end of the year. Ian Carpenter's decided to stand down as treasurer and trustee. It's a role he's held for many years. Ian, I know that it's not always been a smooth ride, and we've had our ups and downs between us, but I did want to thank you for your support, your camaraderie, and your ideas since I've taken over as chair. So thank you. The good news is that Ian's staying on to help maintain the HQ with the property committee, which is fantastic. Sue Cheshire has also decided to stand down from the executive committee. Again, Sue has been a member of the team for as long as I can remember. So thank you again for your support, Sue, and your assistance over the years. Sue continues with her role in SAS. To my existing committee, I'd like to thank you for your support, your banter, and your promotion of scouting. Long may this continue. I'm sure the next 6 to 12 months is going to give us some challenges. I'd now like to pass over to Shirley for her county report.
Thank you very much, Simon, and hello to everybody. Some of you, this will be the third time that I've spoken to you this week, and it's been really great actually how many people have engaged with the districts and county AGMs this week. I think, as I said on the previous two occasions, you know, we're looking back to the year to March, but it really is a time that we must reflect on the challenges that we've all faced since we suspended face-to-face scouting in the middle of March. I've just been so impressed by the way that groups and units have carried on working, carried on delivering scouting, some amazing programme ideas, and the inventiveness has just been absolutely awe-inspiring to see. And then, of course, we were able to resume face-to-face scouting outdoors from the middle of July, and through to the support of the approvals panel, which have helped to ensure that restart risk assessments have been dealt with in very short order. That's meant that a lot of sections were able to get out and meet face to face. Unfortunately, had to make the decision just over a week and a half ago to return Solihull, as well as Birmingham and parts of West Mercia counties, to red status due to the increasing numbers across the region. And I hope that this will be something that won't be long lasting. I'm meeting with the county commissioners at the weekend, and we're going to be discussing about what our route out of the red status will be. And I would certainly encourage all leaders to carry on in putting their restart risk assessments in place, so they're ready to and raring to go as soon as we possibly can. So going back to look into the year up to the end of March, as I said, we were having a fantastic year, loads of activities that were being undertaken. I presented so many Chief Scouts Awards at all the levels, and we also had, I'm very proud to say, 7 Queen Scout Awards achieved, including 2 in network, and certainly it's been a very long time since we've had any network members achieve their QSA, as well as actually their Duke of Edinburgh Gold Awards as well. So all credit to all of the leaders who've been involved in giving the young people the opportunity to achieve these high awards. Our numbers last year were very slightly down, I have to say, but we did have a slight increase in the number of adults. Our 5-year trend, though, is very much on the up, and we're up about 20% on where we were 5 years ago. I have to say now that 5 years ago is when I took over as County Commissioner. So from now on, I'm going to have to start taking full responsibility for those 5-year figures. I'm also very pleased to be able to update you that girls now account for about 23% of our youth membership. And it's great that we are, such an inclusive and diverse organisation. As Simon's referred to earlier, there's been a lot of work been going on to improve the support that we can give to leaders through the facilities that we've put onto the website. Things like the Nights Away notification forms, the Booker validator and training information, the restart risk assessment process, and that's certainly a trend that we're going to continue as we seek to try and make lives easy as possible for leaders delivering the scouting. And that really ties into the national programmes of work, where the focus is around supporting adults to prepare young people with their skills for life, and also to improve the volunteer journey for the adults that we have coming in to help us in scouting. But recruitment is an ongoing issue for us, and that's certainly something I know quite personally for the fact that I've been covering the District Commissioner of Blythe role since September last year. And certainly this pandemic situation, I know, has not made that any easier. But hopefully we'll be able to reinvigorate our groups with the restart of face-to-face scouting soon, and through all of the fantastic work that leaders are doing. So I'd like to lastly take an opportunity to as well sort of remember the people that we've lost over the last 12 months or so. You know, people who've had a significant impact on me personally in my scouting journey, as well as those of many others. And I'd particularly at this time like to remember John Clayton, Dal Lardner, Ken Hughes, Monica Clark, Dave Landreth and Trevor Richmond. All of them have gone, but very much not forgotten. So thank you very much, and thank you very much for everything you do. But we need Simon to take himself off mute so that we can hear him.
That'd be a good idea, wouldn't it?
Yes,
Technical issues. There you go. Thanks, Shirley. Okay, so thank you very much for your report. If you have any questions, again, please do drop them into the chat box and we'll see if we can get around to those before the end of the meeting. I'm now going to hand over to Chris Davis. Chris took over as Treasurer for us in September, and Chris has picked up the accounts and got them approved through Kirsty Bowman, who's our independent auditor. Chris, I'll hand over to you and you can take us through the financials.
Thanks very much, Simon. So what I'm going to present to you tonight is not directly the accounts. We've got a number of slides that show some of the financial position of the county, but the formal accounts themselves are part of the bundle that Simon referred to that's available online and can be found via the same email as the link to join this meeting came in on. Those have been through the exec and through the normal approval processes and are presented here tonight in that way. They have, as Shirley said, received a clear audit opinion from our independent examiner, but I want to make it clear right away that I can't take the credit for that. These accounts were prepared by my predecessor, Ian Carpenter, and it's thanks to his hard work and effort in putting the numbers together that they flew through the audit process with only a minimal number of easily resolved queries. I'd also like to thank Ian for the advice and support and assistance he's given me since I've taken over and for the very thorough handover of information. If I can then go on to say a few brief words about the numbers with the first slide that accompanies this. This slide shows where the total income for the year gone came from, and it shows, as you'll see, a total income of £83,536, and the chart demonstrates where that money came from. The point I'd want to draw attention to is that if you exclude the effect of events bringing in income and Jamboree and Eurojam fundraising, the vast majority of that income is seen to come from the membership fees and the premises. And I'll come on to that again when I talk about the current financial position. Second slide shows the expenditure for the year gone, and that shows a total of £72,739. And again, I'd want to draw attention to the same point, that the majority of that, the pie chart shown, is taken up with Jamboree fees, with costs related to running events, and with the Eurojam fees paid out. If you exclude those, again, the two largest remaining slices are for training and for building and premises. The third slide repeats those numbers, but goes on to show what the effect of them is in terms of the surplus generated for the year. And that shows that in the year, a surplus was generated of £10,797. That's obviously a healthy surplus, and what's happened to that is that has currently been put back into the reserve, specifically mainly the general reserve of the county. And I'm going to speak to that reserve with the next slide, if I may. Oh, no, not the next slide. My fault, I'm forgetting a couple of slides. The next slide shows the first half of the balance sheet, which the county has, and it reflects the total net assets of the county of £49,727. That's after taking into account the liabilities which are formed by the deferred income relating to Eurojam. Key point I'd want to draw attention to here is that the county's assets are primarily liquid assets. That is to say, they are cash held in bank accounts. Very little of the county's assets are tied up in fixed assets. We don't own minibuses, we don't own large quantities of equipment. What that means, and this is relevant in the current age of the world, I think, is that our accounts are realisable and we can put our hands on cash when we need it. The next slide shows the other half of the county's balance sheet, which is how that same number, 49,727, is represented in the funds that we hold. And that shows that the vast majority of that, £33,134, is our general fund, money which is available for whatever scouting purposes we see fit as a county. Other numbers are tied up in various ways, earmarked for activities, for SAS, for international, and for jamborees. The final slide I'm going to talk to is the summary of our financial position. And this brings me back to those reserves numbers. The policy of the county has been for a number of years, and this is common across charities, it's standard good practice, to hold a sum of money equal to a period of time's running costs. We've gone for 18 months of the headquarters running costs. This is to enable an organisation to have enough funds to guarantee its continued existence for that period of time in the absence of its normal income. Not a situation that would normally be faced, but relevant today. The amount we hold against that number is currently in excess of it, and that's partly because of the surplus generated in the year gone. That number is now currently around £33,000. The trustees have discussed what should be done with that money and come to the conclusion that right now nothing should be done with it. It should be ring-fenced as additional reserves. And there are four reasons we've come to that conclusion. The first is to maintain adequate cash flow going forward for the county. This speaks to the fact that although we've generated a surplus in the year gone, in the current year, there is very little income from the premises, and taken together, it's likely that the county will suffer a significant deficit in the current year, and we need to have the reserves to be able to withstand that. The second is that the headquarters building will still be there, and the portion of our costs which relate to it are fixed, and we need to ensure that we're able to continue to support that building and indeed enhance it, particularly in light of improvements for COVID security. The third, and perhaps the most important reason, is that the county has a role effectively as what I'll term the lender of last resort for other scouting bodies within the county. We're all facing this situation with COVID together, and it is likely the county may need to stand ready to provide support to others, and therefore we need to have the reserves to be able to do that as well. That, I think, is what I wanted to say this evening. If I was presenting purely on the basis of last year's numbers, I would be presenting a very healthy situation financially, but the finances are impacted as much as everything else is by COVID, and we have to be aware that the current year is not going to be such an easy position. Nonetheless, and this is perhaps the final and most important thing I'll say, I'm in a position to give the confidence tonight that the county remains a sound going concern. There is nothing in the numbers I've presented or the numbers that I'm seeing in the period since that gives any reason to believe the county is suffering any financial danger itself as a result of COVID at the present. Thank you all for your time. I hope that was helpful.
That's great, Chris. Thank you for all your work on the accounts, and thanks again must go to Ian Carpenter for the work that he did to make sure the numbers add up when they go through audit. So thank you again, Ian. So we move on. If you have any questions, again, please do put them in the chat box, and we can answer them as we go through. So we move on to point 6 on the agenda, which is appointment of officers. And point 6 to point 10 are actually pre-voted. So people who are members of Solihull Scout County Council have the opportunity to vote in advance. They had information sent through to them, which they voted on. So we go to the various appointments. Matt, can you put us up the next slide? The Scout Council has approved unanimously Shirley's nomination for me to remain as chair, and I'll continue to carry on with this meeting. Rob Swindle has also been unanimously approved to carry on in his role as County Secretary. And Chris Davis, there's no escaping. You've been unanimously approved as well, Chris, for the Treasurer role. So there's no change in that space at all. And thank you all for casting your votes on that. Moving on to point 7, which is appointment of members to the County Scouts Council. These happened at the district AGMs this week, and we'll be ratifying that at the first executive meeting, which is occurring in early part of October. Point 8 is appointment of members to county executive. Just to confirm, the county executive is made up of 4 different types of people. Ex officio members of the executive are chair, county commissioner, county youth commissioner, treasurer, secretary, and the regional commissioner can also attend. We also went to vote for elected members, and Ian Carnell, Paul Webb, and Matt Spencer were elected unanimously on as elected members. Similarly, we've co-opted both Ken Meeson and Greg Dodd, both of which were agreed by council to be a unanimous appointment. Nomination onto the county executive. This is Shirley's nomination of Andy Baines to come onto the county executive, and that's majority vote. So Andy, there's no escape. You can come along and join us again. Okay. We move on to the next slide, which is appointment of members to the council of the association. This is a role which Greg Dodd has ably helped us with over the past years, and Paul Webb has stated an interest in doing that, supported by Greg, and it would be great to see Paul going down to the AGM and casting the various different votes with Shirley and also Lauren, our youth commissioner. So moving on to point 10 of the agenda. Over the past few years, we've been using Dave Landreth as our independent examiner, and obviously with the loss of David, sad loss of David earlier in the year, we needed to look outside to help us, and Kirsty Bowman assisted us this year in making sure that our accounts stacked. In the future, Tim McElwing, who is already auditing Blythe's accounts, will be our independent auditor, and was agreed by unanimous vote that he can do that. So that concludes the voting. I don't see any questions coming in at all. So what I'd like to do is just thank everybody for their time, and I just want to read a very quick thing, just to keep in our minds before we run a videotape to close. And the people stayed home and read books and listened and rested and exercised and made art and played games and learned new ways of being and were still and listened more deeply. Some meditated, some prayed, some danced, some met their shadows, and the people began to think differently. And the people healed. And in the absence of people living in ignorant, dangerous, mindless, and heartless ways, the earth began to heal. And when the danger passed and the people joined together again, they grieved their losses and made new choices and dreamed new images and created new ways to live and heal the earth fully as they had been healed. Words from Kitty O'Meara, who I think has captured the moment quite aptly at the moment. Thank you all for coming. I don't see any questions coming in at the moment, so that concludes at 7:59 the AGM for Solihull Scout County, and I've been wanting to do this all day. Matt, run VT.